That's the swarm. So you're just gonna take tons of gaunts, right? Hormagaunts, spine gaunts, termagaunts, whatever flavor of gaunt you really like, um, and just swamp them. The next type of list is the Stealer Shock. Um, Stealer Shock is basically a whole bunch of Gene Stealers, right? And they're basically min units. A couple variation, but pretty much all your troop choices are going to be Gene Stealers. Um, a couple variations. Some people actually use a Broodlord. Some people don't use a Broodlord. Um, I think fluff-wise, it's very good to use a Broodlord, but there's definitely some disadvantages to having a Broodlord because you can't fleet um, fleet a claw. So that's one downside. But the next, so that's what Stealer Shock, and Stealer Shock is very effective because you can basically wipe the floor with any enemy unit you're going to come up against infantry-wise, and then in swarms of numbers you can blow away tanks and stuff like that. Stealer Shock has a big problem against like Mech Eldar, mechanized, lots of skimmer armies. Very hard because you need sixes and you need to be able to chase down. You don't have the range. You don't really have that many ranged units to take down those vehicles while they fly around and basically shoot at you and piece you up. But Stealer Shock is also a very competitive list because it can take care of anything that's on the ground. Anything that's infantry and tanks that are not too slow. They can pretty much wipe the floor with them because the Gene Stealers are that potent. The next list is probably my not my favorite, but I think is the funnest to play just because it's the most surprising to people. Is the shooting nids. It's amazing when you put a whole bunch of Tyranids on the table and they can outshoot. Excuse me. They can outshoot the Tau. It's actually hysterical. Most people don't think the nids can shoot, but that's what makes them so potent. And you make it a real shooty list, and you just people are amazed. They're like, wow, because all they think about is nids at close combat. But you can do it where you can run a shooting list, and you can be pretty effective. I'm not saying it's the most potent list or the hardest to beat, but I think it's the most funniest one just to go up against an opponent and say, I outshot you, and that's what your army's geared for. So that's pretty much that list. You take a couple monstrous creatures, and you have all these types of nids with ranged weaponry just to do some damage. Next is the all elites, which is all mid-sized creatures in the Tyranid list, consisting of Gene Stealers, lots of warriors, Ravengers, Lictors, Zoanthropes, Biovores. That's pretty much the mid-sized creatures of the Tyranid army. So that's pretty much what the elitist army comes up with. Roles for each one of those, and that's the elite army. That's a very hard army to use. I find just because you lack the tank busting ability, even if you use Biovores and Zoanthropes, just because together they make an okay, combo, but nothing compares to our sniper effects for effectiveness. So that's that army, and because there's so few models, we don't really have the save like other elitist armies can get away with. Like Space Marines have a 3+ save. We don't really have the. We can dish it out with that army, but we can't receive it. So that's why that army tends to not do well at all. The last one is a balanced list, which is a mix of everything. These armies can be, very fun. I think they're and they're definitely very fluffy, background-wise, just because they contain all the types of creatures that you want. Um, and especially kids that just starting out and bought maybe the Battle Force set and maybe a Hive Tyrant, and they have a balanced list because they have a unit of lots of different types, and these armies can do well against other balanced lists, but in tourneys they don't tend to do well just because there's not everything's geared, fine-tuned to fulfill a specific purpose in your army in the what you would call waves. When I get to the tactics, and doing that. So that's pretty much what all the armies are about and consist of in general. Ranking them, I guess, from, I don't know, I'm not going to rank them by most devastating to weakest or whatever, but I'm pretty much going to rank them from most popular, going down. Most popular, and this is pretty much competitive wise. Most popular are Nidzilla because of just the power that it has. Then probably like Steeler Shock, then some type of balanced list, and then I would probably say like Shooting and Swarm, and then Elite. Swarms don't do well in tourneys because there's so many models to move, and you run out of time, and by that time usually you're too low on victory points to even though you probably could have caught up and probably won the game at the end if you had enough time. But in tourneys, it's hard because you have all these models to move. So that's why you usually run out of time, and that's why people don't usually take them at tourneys, because it's it's hard to get that game going and get it over with by the time you've turned the tide of battle with so many models to move. Like I said before, I'm going to do pretty much an army build for each army, sort of like the basic army build, and then the tweaks I'll give like general tweaks. I'm not gonna throw out 300 army lists out there, but I'm gonna show you like pretty much each army has this as a base, and then they tweak it maybe a little bit depending on their play style or who they're playing against, or if it's a tournament and they think they're going to have more of this opponent or less of this opponent, or just sort of giving out that idea in people's heads. And then hopefully after I do army builds on each, I'm going to do sort of a tactic of how to use the army, and what concepts to use, and I'll maybe even use like a game board, like on a table, show you what I'm talking about, so people understand, even if it's just simple screening and what you want to do. I think that would help out a lot of people watching my videos, and that'd be pretty cool. Even though it won't be a game, but I'll just teach you basic tactica on what you want to do with the army using some of the models I have. All right. As for hold on, let's see here. Let's see here. This review is pretty much in response to I'm in the shed. He said, how about a general review of stuff? I just wanted to say that this is how I'm going to go about things. I hope it helps. Since you're relatively new, you can think about the fluff and what type of armies you would like to collect, and you can build up towards that as I'm doing this. And I'm glad you painted so many gaunts. I must have talked for a really long time for you to paint that many gaunts while I was going. And let's see here. And then what